in these first few classes I'll be concentrating mainly upon what's called the silk reeling, or in Chinese it's Ch'an Ssu Chin, way of doing Tai Chi. And that's sort of a magical, mystical word, this silk reeling. Other styles of Tai Chi have taken this to great lengths and they've invented little exercises that you do, but it has nothing to do with that. The reason that the Yang style doesn't place so much importance upon Ch'an Ssu Chin is because it's Tai Chi. That's the way you do Tai Chi. And if you're learning Tai Chi correctly, then you will be doing Ch'an Ssu Chin. So I'll be covering that. I'll also be covering, there are 8 exercises to go with the Ch'an Ssu Chin called Fa-Jing Ch'an Ssu Chin, which means explosive energy silk reeling. Because the only way to do explosive energy is to do silk reeling. Now, a lot of my most advanced students are getting Fa-Jing already, not even knowing that they've been doing silk reeling all along. Because silk reeling is the foundation of Fa-Jing. And there are 8 exercises that we're given to teach us about silk reeling, not only silk reeling, but also they're great training methods to get Fa-Jing. Because Fa-Jing is one of the most difficult things that people are telling me that they have to learn. It's very difficult to learn Fa-Jing. So these exercises will help you to learn it. And as we have 8 4-hour lessons this year, I'll be giving you one of these each lesson in the Tai Chi section, Tai Chi classes. So we'll do the first one today, and we'll be starting right from scratch with push hands. We won't be doing extremely basic push hands like this sort of push hands. We'll be doing it much more advanced in the power stance, right from the scratch. And we'll be doing some Sansao as well. And that should fill up our class for these first, at least for this year, doing it that way. And of course, as a sideline to that, I always like to cover little things about the self-defense art and the healing art as well, some Qigong and other little sidelines, just to break the whole thing up. Hey mate, how are you? So let's just start off with silk reeling. Silk reeling, now I've done this myself. We've actually had silk cocoons. We've tried to reel the silk out. It's very difficult. And you have to be an expert in order to take silk from a cocoon. If you pull too quickly, it'll break. If you pull too slowly, it'll sag, and you get a fault line in the silk if you pull too slowly. Meaning, of course, that you must have your Tai Chi like this all the way through. And the silk is actually of a spiral shape. If you look at it, silk very closely, it's of a spiral shape. So silk reeling simply means moving at the correct speed with nothing fast. You can have explosion. See, this is not fast. That was explosive. That's not fast. This would be fast. And that would break the silk. But this doesn't break the silk. By the same token, if you're doing a movement and then you go dead slow, that will also break the silk. So we're going to start off doing the old Yang style, or the Yang Chang style of Tai Chi, with these aspects in mind. Now they're very hard most of it is done in your mind, this silk reeling. And if you have it in your mind, what the mind assumes, the body will follow. As long as you have a relaxed and calm body, that will follow what your mind is thinking subconsciously. But if you're trying to physically think of, I'm going to do this circular movement here, or a spiral movement at the end of it, then you're going to break the silk. So that's why it's important to see, firstly to see me doing it, and then just to get that into your mind's eye. And then to have, can everyone hear? Okay? Right. And then to get that into your mind about what your limbs are supposed to be doing. Our ultimate aim is to get the internal energy, or the qi as it's called, in perfect harmony with the external movements. And once you get that happening, you get the maximum amount of power that your body can have, either for the healing art or for the martial art. But you must get this balance of external and internal, and coordination first. That's why we learn Tai Chi, is to get the coordination thing of external and internal. So what your energy internally is doing, well, what it's not doing first is sharp movements like this. So we don't do sharp movements like that. We first of all do flowing movements. Even if we're doing punching, it'll all be still flowing. You notice that at the end of it there's a little circle, and there's a circle, and then it comes out again, turning it into a spiral. Because if you have lateral or vertical movement with a circle wrapped around it, you're getting a spring, you're getting a spiral happening. Everything in nature happens in spirals. Trees grow in spirals. A candle flame will go up in a spiral because of the rotation of the earth. So that's what we're looking at. So that's why your internal chi goes in spirals throughout your body. And many people over the years have released books way, way back. I remember reading a book by a very famous old Chinese gentleman about 30 years ago. I saw this book and he had spirals written on the arms, you know. So I'm thinking, how am I going to do my Tai Chi like that? You know, it was a very difficult way of explaining it, but what he couldn't say was, because of the translation, was that it happens in your mind. That's what your mind must be thinking. Every move must be spiral-ya. And you can use that word if you like, I just invented it. Such is my grasp of the English language. Every move must be spiral. So when you see the movements happening, if you take a close look at what the hands are doing, and so on. So people who've been doing this form for a while, you'll see these spiral movements. And once you start learning about these little spiral, that every move is a spiral movement, your whole Tai Chi will then change. And you don't know what it is, but you think, this is different, this is nice, whoa, what's happening here? So when the hand's coming up, for instance, doesn't just like this. See how it's spiraling outwards? And now that one's spiraling outwards, you see? So always the hands are doing these movements. They can be very, very slight so that someone watching can hardly see it, but always the hands are doing